Creating content is a skill. And we have a lot of people who come to us who do a great job at making money, but content is new to them and they underestimate what goes into it. And they think that it's like, all right, I'm going to get behind the camera, I'm going to crush it, and we're going to blow up right away. And that's just a lot of time not the case. Like, you have to put in your reps and build the skill, just like with anything else. So the longer that you've been doing it, the more efficient it becomes, like the better you're going to be.
So how do you turn your business into an actual brand? Well, my name is Bijal Patel, and I've had 13 years of corporate experience working at big Fortune 500 companies, and I'm taking all of that juicy firsthand experience and have brought it into my company Launch. Within this podcast, you're going to learn about branding, vision, identity, mindset, and how to scale your business to the next level. So let's go ahead and own your brand. All right, guys, I am so excited. Welcome back to another episode of Own Your Brand. I have the Logan Forsyth with me today. And if you don't know him, you need to grab a notebook, because this guy knows how to scale brands virally, that's a word, in a way that I think is incredible, because he backs it up by a guarantee. So I just want to introduce you, Logan, to the show. Welcome in and tell us what you're all about.
Thank you. Yeah, thanks for having me. It's a pleasure to be here. So a little bit about myself. I'm a founder, co-CEO of a company called Media Scaling, where we guarantee top personal brands, podcasts, creators, and also enterprise brands up to 1 billion views in the first 180 days working with us. So how we do that is we look for creators and brands who have a large library of good quality content. Brand recognition does help, not required. And then they're just good at monetizing from said content. If that's the case, we'll plug in a media division of editors, social media managers, team leader, copywriter, clips coordinator, thumbnail designer, so on and so forth, to repurpose all their content into high volume of top quality, very important for top quality short form clips. And then we flood socials with it across a network that we create per client of what we call sub accounts. So we'll create 30 to 150 additional sub accounts for each of our clients. It'd be like Mr. Beast Reels, Mr. Beast Clips, Best of Mr. Beast, so on and so forth. And that allows us to post 1,800 to 10,800 times per month per client. And when we do that level of volume, a lot of the posts go viral. And we take all that new reach, new exposure, funnel it back to their main socials, into whatever else that they're focusing on. They see hockey stick growth and everyone's happy.
That's it, dude. I have so many questions here. Just get ready.
Yeah.
This is gonna be such a good episode. So first of all, kudos to you for building a company like this that has that kind of backing, that has that kind of guarantee, and has that kind of infrastructure put into place. Because as you were talking, kind of like that Andrew Tate model that we now know,
Yep.
it's it's spreading across all these accounts. Dude, some of us can't get our calendar managed. And you're posting 1,800 posts a day, a month, per client. Yeah. What was that number? A month. Okay.
1,800 to 10,800 times per month.
Oh, okay. Sorry. I forgot, guys. Okay. So 2 to 10,000 times a month. Yeah, Logan's got his team posting on your behalf. So, all right, I'm going to ask a few different questions, because I know this is exactly what our listeners would want to know. Because in these kind of interviews, I feel like we get a lot of backstory on the founder's hero's journey, but then we're like, wait, what are you actually good at, and how can I apply it? So we're going to go tactical with this one, and you just give away whatever you think is. I mean, there's no one who can make 2,000 to 10,000. So
I'm a big fan. I'll tell you exactly how we do what we do, and then if you want us to do it for you, let's talk.
Yeah, there we go. Okay. So when you say high quality content, I think that people have a really tough time figuring out what that is. And so if they are a normal business owner, they've got some reach, they have a little sense of what their brand is, they have something that's established, they know their voice, but a lot of times they're just testing the market to see what will and will not hit. How do you guys judge what's considered a high quality piece of content?
A great question. So at the end of the day, data is the ultimate judgment, right? And so before a post is published out to the social platforms, there we can do everything we can based on the experience we have and understanding psychology and frameworks and other posts that have proven to perform well to put ourselves in the best chances of that content also performing. But it doesn't always happen, right? Like social media, it depends on the platform you're on, but most platforms have millions of posts that are published per day. So reality is there is a lottery system aspect to it to a degree as well. Some posts will
Hmm.
have just like crazy outliers compared to others. Audience size does play a factor, but it's not required anymore. TikTok really changed
Yep.
that about 4 years ago. We have accounts that are created from scratch and they'll have a few hundred followers, and then a post will get millions of views and snowball the account. And then it has 5,000, 10,000 followers seemingly overnight, right? And
Yeah.
so that can happen as well. And I would say for creating great content, going back to the data side, a lot of content creators will just, pull ideas out of air and be like, maybe this will work, maybe this will work, especially in the business arena. And what I recommend is following a process of going out there. You can create a new email, like a new Gmail, and then use that to create a new YouTube channel, a new Instagram account, and a new TikTok account. And then when you have that fresh slate, go and then start engaging and follow multiple accounts who have built the audience that you want to build. And the algorithm will train to serve you a lot more of that content. And so that becomes like your university, right? Of seeing top performing accounts and channels and content. And then from there, make a list of 10, 20 accounts per platform, and then go look at their outlier posts, the posts that have done better than average. And you can also inverse it, look at the posts that have performed less than average as well. So you want to lean into what is working, lean away from what's not,
Yep.
and use that as like model and innovate, right? Don't just copy it, but use that as
Yeah.
inspiration. Look at the hooks, especially of what they're using, what they're saying, the visual component at the start of their content, and then also use that for inspiration, tweak it slightly, make it your own if you have that expertise. And that's going to be a really, really strong starting base for you. There's also great tools out there. Mr. Beast has his tool, viewstats.com, which is really, really cool for analytics and giving you just top performing outlier posts, etc. for YouTube. Then you have viralfinder.com for Instagram, tweethunter.io for Twitter. TikTok is talkaudit.io. All these softwares will also make it much easier as using the tool with each platform to find really top performing content. And so again, you can use that to really shortcut your process of becoming an expert in whatever it is that you do and using that as a basis for inspiration of the content that you create. Like great content can be Mr. Beast and Hermosi are completely different creators, but both create great content, right? So there's no one answer to that. And really, you have to follow like this research process yourself based on who you are. What is your goal with your socials? What is your expertise? What are you going to talk about? Is it informational? Is it entertainment, or is it a mix of both? And use that as like the guiding basis. That's really like the framework that I recommend to follow to create great content, because there's no one right answer of me just saying you have to do vlogs or you have to do reaction content or just direct to camera, so on and so forth.
I love that. One of the things I'm picking up, that was a very information dense. One of the things I'm picking up from our conversation, Logan, because we just met, we just happened to be in Taylor Welch's mastermind group together. And
Yeah.
I was like, oh, cool, a brand dude. I should say what's
Yeah.
up because we're all different. We all have our little fruit trees, we're different fruit trees.
Yeah.
One of the things I'm gleaning from what you're speaking about and how you've like structured your business model is that it is really R&D, and you really let the market and bigger accounts dictate this is what's working. So maybe we haven't driven to the exact address, but we'll at least land in the neighborhood instead of just throwing spaghetti at the wall and hoping it sticks.
Totally. Yeah. And that's for on if you're an earlier stage content creator and you don't have a lot of your own content and data to go off of yet. However, once
Mhm.
you really get in and you build a team around this, consistent content systems, you post a lot, you're going to get a lot of your own data. And then that's where you should focus in on the most, because it's going to be just a better guiding light for you. So once that's in place, like it, there are still always aspects of researching other accounts and seeing what's happening, but you want to blend that with also your own content as well. Really look at the watch time, like when retention drops off in your content, study those moments and ask yourself, like, why did retention drop so much here? Let's avoid this happening again in future content. And then also, oh, this style of content worked really well. Let me just like remix this hook and follow the same style again and make it a little bit different to where it's not too repetitive to my audience. But if that worked really well the first time, the likelihood of it working well again is probably higher.
I love that. So on that point, that's so informative. And I think one of the things as when you're posting, there's a creative element to it. So I feel like it's a left and right brained situation here. So like, yes, get into flow, be creative, be expressionist, make sure your thumbnails and your artwork and your brand actually looks good.
Yeah.
And you're testing and trying different things, but also have the data and the numbers and the tracking behind it so that you know where are you going directionally speaking. So that's an interesting point you make, especially with like the watch time thing. So much stuff is going to YouTube, so many things are going to video. People are talking about SEO, like it's just like SEO as it relates to AI, and so all these things are shifting even when we're talking about websites and like how that works and how it ties back to YouTube. So when you look at specifically, this is a tactical question, when you look at that watch time metric and things fall out, I've noticed it's really hard. I know it is for me, but I know it's hard for clients sometimes to self identify. Like, I don't know why they fell off right there. If I
So,
knew, I would fix it. So, like, what are a couple reasons that you see in all of your work of why do watch times fall off? Why do people fall off?
yeah, it depends on the type of content, right? Like long form and short form are very different. We specialize more so in short form with all the content that we put out on behalf of clients and the sub account networks. So with short form specifically, like every split second in the edit counts, but that argument can be made for long form as well. But short form even
Yeah.
more so because you have such a short time window. We do see ideal results overall with short form content falling between like 30 to 90 seconds, really like 30 to 60. Especially if it's more information based content, you don't get your point across in 5-10 seconds, you know. And
Yeah, you can't. You just can't,
right.
or you're like just dancing or pointing at something, but it's not
Yeah.
long enough to like make a point. It's just there to be entertaining.
Right. And the dancing and pointing also, it doesn't do as much for building brand, right? Building like the relationship with you and your audience either. But going to the drop off in watch time, I think it's balancing like a lot of instances. Yeah, you're not able to just immediately identify, okay, this is what caused that. However, when you look at it enough, you can start to pick up on patterns with it as well. And then also compare it to content where you don't have a big drop off in watch time. In the first 2 seconds, 3 seconds, you still have like 70% plus retention is a great target to be at. Usually, if your content has 70% plus retention within the first 2 seconds and it's a short form clip, it's going to perform well. Versus if it's lower
Got
and like 60s is still good. When you 50s and below, then you got some work to do, right? And so
got it.
when you look at enough of the posts, you can start to pick up on patterns of what may be causing that, what's not. The hook is the biggest piece because we're talking about the first few seconds generally. And when it goes to short form content on the editing side, like I mentioned, every split second matters to where a lot of content that I see, people still have repeat statements. They're saying the same thing kind of in a different way. They have filler words, ums, ahs, pauses. And so you want to really cut those moments out and use jump cuts with the editing side. We have data to show that that performs better overall.
Wow.
And then it just comes down to your element of like using the hook, right? To get people to want to watch, but then you have to keep them watching as well. And so, as long as you're
Yeah.
articulate and maybe you're telling a story in the content, if you don't have just like a lull period in your story, you'll see a drop off in that. I don't know. There's so many types of content. It's hard to give like a specific answer there. But when you are looking at this as an ongoing metric, you start to pick up on the pattern and can identify ideas behind why there are drop offs in watch time, depending on who you are and what you're talking about.
That's awesome. I think that's great. I think knowing that those are different things, like to sum up what you said, it's like one of the things to look for is the just making sure you're editing out your ums and your ahs, and that there's real effect related. Like I just said, better cut that out. There's a real effect there related to watch time, especially when you're talking about short form content. It's like 30, 60 seconds, and like 20 seconds of it is like the uhs and the ahs and the pauses that we don't really notice as we're speaking, or we may be habituated to it, so that we can use a tool to pull that out. I think that's a great feedback. So when you're looking, obviously, there's a lot of people. I mean, you got Gary Vee telling you to go omnipresent. You watch these big channels. I've got some thoughts on like how people should approach building their social media content side of the brand. But from your perspective, like, do you have a favorite type of platform for a type of person? Like, are you like, hey, B2C, you guys should be on TikTok and Instagram? If you're B2B, it really works better if you're Facebook, YouTube, LinkedIn. Like, do you have some of those, like, yeah, not everyone all the time, but like just wide brush strokes that you can give?
Yeah, that's a great question. Overall, I love YouTube, and I think that it is the most powerful platform. It's also one of the hardest to crack into with long
Mm,
form content. Um, like Ty Lopez has something that he calls the 13-hour rule. It's like if someone spends 13 hours with you watching your content, they'll buy anything from you, right? And it's harder to do that with short form. That's like a lot of short form clips that they have to watch versus long form. You can get there much faster. So we look at short form as arguably the most effective top of funnel reach audience growth strategy available in current day. And then you can use the short form to funnel that viewership back to long form. There's a debate that this doesn't happen, and we have plenty of data to state otherwise. A lot of it just comes with people not using call to actions, letting them know, like, hey, go check out the long form content. And that's really it, right? If you don't tell people what to do, they're not going to do it. So we use call to actions in our content with text animations. Inside of the edits, we do pin comments on the captions. We'll promote the long form content on stories, so on and so forth. There's a lot of ways that you can do it. But that's why I'd say overall, YouTube is great. It's a powerful platform for getting the long form content going out. When it comes to short form specifically, B2B is overall great on LinkedIn. Different industries are much stronger on user base and engagement than others. So it still depends on the industry that you're in. Instagram is great for personal brands, business owners as well. YouTube can still be great. It's a big search platform. And TikTok also is a big search platform. Like Instagram sucks for search. You can't go, if you want to
yeah.
search like a Google search query, it doesn't work on Instagram, but it does on TikTok, and it also does on YouTube as well. And so those are going to be big platforms for that specifically. For B2C, also Instagram works great. TikTok is really strong still with e-commerce, with TikTok Shop. They've done just such a big
Mm-hmm.
push on that. And I see, and we've connected with people who have faceless accounts making 100K plus per month on TikTok Shop, just like holding a supplement in their hand type stuff. You don't even see them behind the camera. It's pretty crazy. I think it's a trend. I think it's going to go away, and we'll see how long it lasts next 1-2 years. But for now, if you want to capitalize on the trend, that's an opportunity if you're in the e-com space. So there's a lot of factors, but overall, it's a, you also have to look at the benefits behind each platform. Like YouTube is so strong with long form and it's so strong with searchability, but it's not very conversational, right? The only
Yeah.
main conversation components to it is like the comment section, and then you have your email attached to your channel. Versus Instagram is extremely conversational in the comment section, and then everyone shares. Like Instagram DMs is the arguably the most widely available DM platform. LinkedIn is next to it, but LinkedIn has so many bots and automated messages going out. So
And
there's different
people who
pros and
are going to
cons to the
add,
different platforms.
yeah. LinkedIn also, like, if you get caught up in some of those bots, you're just going to get harassed for a little while with
Ah,
just different cold messaging that they're
it's
allowing to
crazy.
happen there.
It's
What
crazy.
about, where does Facebook fall into this land?
Facebook. So, in terms of working well with our strategy and short form content, us creating a lot of sub pages, we have overall mixed results. Sometimes it really hits and does well as a platform for a client. Other times it not so much, but still, we don't want to just count it out completely. It's a lagging platform, but there's still results there overall. I will say in the creator space, a lot of so I look at creators and personal brands as two different avatars, right? Personal brands, in my eyes, are business owners who create content for their business, right? So they're business
Mm.
entrepreneur first, content creator second. Creators, I look at as creator first. Like they create content because they love creating content. A lot of it's entertainment based. And then business comes second or none at all. And a lot of creators just monetize through AdSense, and brand deals are usually the primary two levers. So I've connected with a lot of creators who really crush with AdSense on Facebook. And sometimes they're making more money on Facebook than YouTube with their AdSense play. So it's a sleeper platform with AdSense specifically. But if you own a business, it's, I could tell you, AdSense can be there, but it's definitely not what you want to rely on for income source.
Yeah.
It's just kind of something that comes, but it's the most inefficient way to monetize from your socials. But Facebook can still be good overall. There's still billions and billions of daily active users on that platform.
Yeah, it just depends on how your method is set up. So I'm gonna take it back to like a really basic question. So on a platform like Instagram, but since we're talking more about Instagram, there you can have a business or you can have more of like a personal page, like a creator type of page. What type of page do you recommend people who are using their personal brands to monetize their business? Should they actually use their business page or should they use their personal brand?
Personal brand is always going to outproduce and have better results than a brand like business page overall. I was listening to a podcast with the CEO of YouTube recently, and I like the way that he put it, that when he was growing up back in, let's say, the 80s with sports, like everyone was so much more tied to the team behind the sport, right? And now there's been a huge shift to the athletes itself. And like athletes get so much more attention. People will change the team that they're a fan of if the athlete changes the team. And that's happening across the board because of social media. Like people are much more tied to personalities. People want to do business with people rather than a brand facing business. So I don't recommend. I mean, I like the idea of still doing both, right? But if it comes down to limited bandwidth and you're only going to
Mhm.
choose one, if you have to choose between your personal brand, your business page, personal brand is going to produce more results with the bandwidth that you put together. It just is higher leverage overall. It gets higher engagement, higher growth.
100%. I totally agree on that because the reach is different, the algorithm produces a different, and then the style of content that people are into is also different based on getting to see the face behind a brand. So, a lot of times people ask the question when it comes to what I call your hybrid personal and business brand, that like when you're a small business owner, like a lot of us are, and we're founding our company, you're going to have both. You're going to have some of your personal brand, you're going to be the face of the brand, and then you also have the business brand. But when it comes time to actually exit and you want to look at the multiple, you get knocked every time an investor or somebody who's acquiring your business sees that your face, your name, and your likeness is associated with your portfolio of clients, or your book of business. Like, how dependent, in a nutshell, how dependent is this business on this person? So sometimes people get kind of hung up on like, oh, well, I don't want to be the face of the brand. I'm a little worried because am I going to be able to pull myself out in the future? How do you address that question for these brands that you're scaling and you're using all this cool content and you're spreading it virally? How do you answer that question that people have?
Yeah. So if exit is part of your plans and that is the reason that you're not creating content for your personal brand, it's like have fun making less money. It's not if if you have a personal brand and you still build a company into an asset that has a team that runs it without your involvement or with your involvement, you can do an earn out as well, depending on how you approach it. Like you still just can add enough value in other pillars of the business to make it valuable, and you're not going to
Yeah,
get dinged too hugely unless you're only reliant on organic traffic from your personal brand, which is, if that's the case, you're probably not in a position to exit your company yet anyways, right? So I really don't think that that is something that should hold you back from having a personal brand. If
love it.
anything, it adds to your notoriety. Like your personal brand, your audience is an asset. It truly is, right? And it's an asset that is taken with you. So let's say that you do exit your company, you still now have that asset as well. Like the company didn't, unless they buy literally your brand and rights, which does happen sometimes. But I don't know depends on the deal, but overall, I don't know if I'd recommend that. But afterwards, let's say you sell the company. Now you're also the guy or girl who just exited for 30 million, 100 million, whatever dollars as well. And that helps you leap into the next arena that you're going to go into with way more power, way more momentum also. So like you can always later on, if you're in a spot to where you're getting ready to exit, you probably have resources that you can start to put towards your brand channel to have that pick up, like get you out of it to where you're not the sole person behind it. And yeah, maybe it takes 6 to 12 months. That's fine. Use that time to also just build more enterprise value in your company and get a bigger exit, you know?
Yeah,
So
love it.
I wouldn't use that as an excuse to hold you back from having a personal brand by any means.
Oh yeah, I totally agree with that. I think that sometimes I think it's one of those entrepreneur things where you take a future problem and you make it a current problem
Yeah.
just
Which is
to
common.
like
Yeah.
yeah, just to make it so hard that it's impossible to do the next thing
Right. It's a
moving
limiting
forward. But
belief. It
that's a
really
limiting
is.
belief, exactly. I mean, they all are. They all are. That's what we're all in that same matrix. But when a small business owner, maybe they don't have like maybe they do have a content team. They have somebody who comes and maybe films them once a week, but a lot of times they're making their own content. How much time should they be spending to make the content around, like, maybe a suggestion of like this much a day when we're talking about real things related to bandwidth? Because we've got markets are shifting, the platforms are shifting, messaging, the market sentiment is shifting right now. So people are getting in there, getting into their businesses, they're looking at really important things. And so content may fall off for them. So, how much time do you suggest a day or a week for people to do it? And then, two, how far in advance do you recommend people planning their content? So, I wanted to ask you this because a lot of different people I've interviewed and I'm really good friends with who are amazing and they have their own content creating companies. People have different views on what this should look like.
Sure. Yeah, I don't think there's one right answer. There's a lot of like depending factors and variables depending on the brand and the person and their goals. But what we overall, again, this can vary. Overall, we've seen if you have a foundational target to where you're doing one long form video per week and then post that long form video not only on YouTube, but also on X, Facebook, and LinkedIn and TikTok. The other platforms where long form still is working, it's just not as notable of a long form platform. But why would you not post it? Like there's going to be more views that come, right? So you already have it. Why not post it? You're just getting less value from the asset that you've created as a piece of content. So one long form video a week and then 2 short form videos per day. If you do that for your brand, the likelihood of you growing is pretty high. And so you're going to really start to build an audience. You're going to start to not only have lead nurture plays a huge role, and it's something that is really underrated. Of even if you are primarily running ads or you're doing cold outreach or you have referrals coming in, whatever the case, if you have any other acquisition channels and you're not currently creating organic content, people are searching you on social media. They go to your page, they go to your company, and they see nothing. They won't buy from you. And then they
Yeah.
never tell you that's the reason they don't buy from you. So you never hear it, but it absolutely happens all the time. So you're making less money that's just a fact in today's current age if you don't have organic content going up for your socials. So a lot of people just like really focus on the value of growth. I need to grow my audience. I need to do this. I need to do this. I'm like, but they're not focusing on the value of the lead nurture side. And you don't need this audience in even hundreds of thousands. You can have thousands of followers, but if you are showing a lot of expertise in your content, when people search you out and they go check you out and watch some of your stuff, they're like, okay, they know what they're talking about. And that helps them build trust. And then they're going to continue going through the sales process. And so you're not going to lose as many deals as you are if you don't have organic content. So that's something that just like you need to understand that value component as well of having content for your brand. But then additionally, when you're at that cadence, one long form video a week, 2 shorts per day, you're likely going to grow. And so lead generation is going to become a part of that as well. And so you get both boxes. Now you have lead generation and lead nurture. Conversions are going to be higher. Everything performs better. I've talked to multiple people who have run ads without organic content. They started creating organic content while also running ads, and their ads started performing a lot better. It's that trust factor
Yes.
that's just normal part of today's age. Like social media is your business card. And if you don't have organic content on your socials, you don't have a business card, you don't have, it's like not having a website at this point. It doesn't look legit, right? So it's
Exactly.
not, I don't see it as
Exactly.
optional, really. Um, so
Yeah, I
in
think I
terms,
think we don't I don't think we see it like that, but depending on who the business owner is, and I've had people who've had $40 million roofing companies be like, "Well, I
sure,
built my brand and I never had to do this." And I was literally like, "Well, it could have been 80."
right,
He just like
exactly. Like,
stared
yeah,
at me.
yeah, you got
He
to
was
that level,
like,
but it could be bigger.
"You
Yeah,
could have been bigger, bro." So that's,
right.
you literally left money on the table.
Right.
So how long, like, so that was a great framework there, two short form posts a day, one long form, post across all the platforms is what your recommendation is. Like, why not? You've already made it. That's Logan's recommendation. How long do you think this should take a business owner?
Yeah. So, and I know that was like a side tangent, not answering directly
Oh,
your
I love
original
side
question.
tangents.
The how long it takes a business owner, um, creating content is a skill, and we have a lot of people who come to us who do a great job at making money, but content is new to them, and they underestimate what goes into it, and they think that it's like, all right, I'm gonna get behind the camera, I'm gonna crush it, and we're gonna blow up right away. And that's just a lot of time not the case. Like you have to put in your reps and build the skill, just like with anything else. So the longer that you've been doing it, the more efficient it becomes, like the better you're going to be. That plays a big role in overall, like how far you're scheduling things out or how much time it takes for you. But I would say like that's the foundational element is one long form video a week, two short form videos per day. You don't have to be there at the start if you don't have the availability and the bandwidth to do so. Like that can be a target that you build towards if you're just not there yet. And my strongest recommendation for any business owners who have the resources to start to build a team around this is your first hire should really be a creative director. We found that that's
Mm,
the best title for the role. And they're going to be like your all in one person. You want to hire them locally to you. They should have like skills with videography and editing, but also really strongly understand the platforms and understand building brand on social media. And now you have someone internally, full time, dedicated to your brand. They live local. They're going to come and you don't have to even spend time doing any of this. They use view stats and viral finder and talk audit, etc. They come to you with all the video ideas. You just like review it a little bit before you have your filming sessions. Like they just take care of everything. They can handle the posting, they can handle the editing, the filming. That way it's much more hands off for you as the business owner. If you don't do
yeah,
that and you're truly growing a business, it's hard to
becomes really challenging.
it's likely not going to work out of you like consistently creating content and doing it at top level. So that is a key hire in your early stages is like starting to build your team around content, right? And when that's the case, I'm a huge fan of batching your content creation. And it just depends on like what are your targets, what is your type of content? Are you just doing direct to camera stuff, which works great in the business space? Or are you more so like are you doing vlogs? Are you doing places that requires you to commute and travel more? Like that all plays time or roles on how much time is going into this. But let's just say a lot of it is like direct to camera talking head content. You can batch that pretty well. And within, I'd say 2 filming sessions a month, maybe half days, maybe full days, you can get enough to do one weekly long form video, 2 shorts per day. And then your creative director or whoever else on the team handles the rest of editing it and publishing, posting out for you.
Posting it.
That would be my recommendation. But it also just depends on maybe you want to do like one filming session per week, one day, whatever. I don't recommend every single day you're waking up, little preparation, going into it. It's like, all right, what are we going to film today? Like prepare for it and then batch it, put it in your calendar, and really build a system around your content creation.
I love that. Yeah. I've experienced it all different ways. I've had the video crew. I've batched it all in 1 month. I've had the epic 12-hour film sessions. I'm like, no, I can't do
Yeah.
this. And then, just doing some stuff off the phone, which actually works really well sometimes. It's just like picking up your phone and filming something. So, on
Yeah.
that note, like Instagram went through a whole thing where it was like, it was really proper and like everything was beautiful and everything was graphically tied together. And then they went through their like raw, it's almost like a rebellion phase. And now they're kind of back to like some things are beautiful, some things are not. So
Yeah.
how important is it like to have the professional videography with all the cool, edits? Like I'm not talking just the captions. I'm talking like B-roll gets put in, effects are put in, music's put in, like it's more of a produced piece that has like good lighting and good sound versus
Yep.
just being raw and just flipping around your phone using a couple cool apps. Like I love like the captions app. So easy. You just click the button, go, puts the captions on there. You can add in music if you want, and you're just on your way. What do you think is important in terms of that piece of how like it is professionalized, and does it need to look like it's put together like by some kind of bomb video person?
Yeah. Good question. Again, there's depending factors. Like for us, we're a media company, and a big, I would say, question that we get when people come in is like, what is the quality that is? Like, what does the content look like? So for us, it's more important for our production value to be on point because we want it to represent the production value that our clients are going to get as well, because they've been building their brand for 5, 15, 40 years, who knows, everything in between. And so they're very, very focused on upholding and strengthening it, not doing anything that's going to risk like hurting their brand reputation and image. So for us, it's more important. Other people, it's not so much. I would say overall, though, we do have enough data. Like some company stats, we're posting currently over 40,000 times a month right now across all of our accounts. We track everything. So we have a lot of data from that process. And we have seen overall production quality matters across platforms, and we get better results with better production quality. And also, again, it makes you come across as more professional. And so, especially if you're a business owner and you're really dialed on production, it creates a better impression. People are like, all right, if they're really dialed here, I'm sure like the back end systems, like their fulfillment, everything is going to be dialed as well. Versus if your like content is really messy, then they may assume that your business is going to be messy on the back end also, right? Um, so that's something to take into account. But then other creators, they're not as like business focused. That doesn't matter to them as much. And I will say TikTok is the one platform to where it's just like more genuine, raw, like on your phone content, green screen edit, etc. Tends to work better overall. A lot of like TikTok has carved their own type of content. Like you see a TikTok video, it's for TikTok. Versus the other platforms, they're the higher professional, higher production content does tend to perform better. And like you said, Instagram, it can be a mix. You can go both ways. YouTube, we definitely see better results with production value, like the higher production value, better the results. Same thing on LinkedIn. Facebook can go both ways as well. And then Snapchat, we do see good results on Snapchat with the higher production also.
Got it. Cool. That was a great answer. Like, really good. Like, because some of what is accessible to people if they want to film something, like when you're talking about production quality, obviously, videographer comes in, you get everything ready, you go, and it looks very nice when it's done. But there's also like a really nice teachability factor. Like, what are your thoughts on like just using a Loom video and just teaching and screen sharing and like actually teaching people through? Like, when we talk about one long form video a week, like, is that an acceptable measure of professionalism, or is that a little too casual in your opinion?
Yeah, I think if you have like a high level knowledge base on teaching a skill, and there's a lot of value in it, it comes down to value at the end of the day, right? And the value I look at in two ways: information, entertainment. You can blend both together as well. But if it's very highly valuable with information based, and you're doing things that are more technical to where you want to be able to share a screen, like visually show a process, that content can perform really well. I mean, there's a lot of channels that do really well with that in like the tech space, especially like showing software engineering and coding, or showing like editing skills, etc. You can only talk about it so much, but if people aren't seeing it, it just goes over their head, right? Um, so that plays a role. But overall, I will say, like, I have seen you like longer form videos perform really well doing like Loom walkthrough videos. Usually on channels I see do that. I do also see a good use case in blending both together to where they do their screen recording, like high information
Yeah.
tutorial walkthrough videos, but they also still have some direct to camera, like talking head content. to build more of that personality base and show their expertise in a different format and way. And having that blend tends to work really well. And then even for the Loom, like I would say for YouTube, again, it's not, even 4 years ago, you can get away with less production. Now it's like the competition is fierce. You know, you have people who basically have built their own Hollywood studios all over the place, and the full production teams, like really, really dialed multi-million-dollar setups that are creating content, and they're your competitors in the platform. Everyone who is creating content to get attention is your competitor, right? And so it is no longer as easy to just throw up like super easy. Let me just do a quick Loom, throw it on YouTube, and it's going to go viral, move the needle for me. But it could scratch more that itch of like the lead nurture side and be like a good tutorial for people. Maybe use it as a marketing asset, sales asset, like in your process. You're like directing traffic that comes from other areas to check out this video. That can also work well. But I would say like Loom video, aim to over time increase your production as well. Like get a nicer camera, get a better mic, like have the lighting set up. You can still have an editor do some effects for you. But you know, don't use that as an excuse not to start either.
So good. All right. Few more rapid fire kind of questions because this has been so
Yeah.
good, so in depth, and I think that there's like, again, this episode is so chock full. I actually recommend, guys, go back and re-watch this episode. Follow Logan on social. Obviously, he's going to have it going on, and his content's going to be on point. And we'll drop his links and stuff in the show notes. But let's do a few rapid fire questions. And
Yeah.
maybe they're probably all going to be, Logan, it depends questions, because I love it depends questions, because I want to know what the nuance is. I want to know what the context is. Like, I feel like, you being on a branding show, it's called Own Your Brand. Like, they already know some stuff, so they got to go know into the details. So I thought
Yeah.
it was fascinating. And I agree with you, but I thought it was fascinating when you said, if you're serious about content, your first hire should be a creative director who's local. What I find is a lot of people, their first hire is a social media manager, typically from overseas, maybe the Philippines or something. They usually hire like a VA to handle their social media content. What do you say about that?
Yeah. It just depends like on your goal. And I should have given more preface context to where hire a creative director if you're looking to build that foundation and be at a long form video a week, 2 shorts per day, like really be dialed across the board. That's what it takes. It takes a high level team that you start to build around this. But if you are not at that stage yet, because I would also recommend, it depends on like how you give comp structure, whatever, right? If you give people just more skin in the game, a lower base, but that is a more expensive salary position. So you need resources to be able to bring that team on. So if you're at an early stage yet, or earlier stages to where you're not yet able to hire a creative director, then it does work well to go out, hire a VA to still take off like that manual labor component for you of just doing the posting, getting the content out there, scheduling. And maybe you just film yourself and you like batch your content. You do it enough to get 3 posts out per week, right? Just so you have a presence and you have that quote unquote website, quote unquote business card, like we talked about, and you're not just a ghost on socials. That way, you're probably not, and I wouldn't even say probably, you're not going to grow at the same level, and you're not going to have the amount of leads that come in. Like you're not going to be the top 1% person in your niche and market doing that, but you're still going to pick up on a lot more traffic and building trust and lead nurturing than you otherwise would if you're getting something out there. So I'd say if you're like scrappy, earlier stages, just getting started, that can be a great route. Go out there, get a VA, make sure that you get a proxy system set up. So they have like, especially if they're overseas, so they have the same geographic IP location to you and your general vicinity. That way you get the right geographics and demographics that you want on your content. The platforms play a different role. Like TikTok, especially now, has made it to where if someone, no matter where you're at, it's like an immediate switch. If I were to go to Europe today, I post in the US in the morning, go to Europe, and I post in Europe, that post is going to immediately be starting to get served to a lot of people in Europe and not the US. So TikTok matters the most of like the location of who's posting on the account. It still plays a role on other platforms, but not as heavily. But getting a proxy system set up is definitely recommended. And that's a
Is that
whole
like a
technical.
VPN or is that like a
So
VPN or is
VPNs
that a
and
multiple
proxy,
things?
this is a whole technical thing to where we
Oh, okay.
have a software engineer on our team that spent like 4 weeks, like looking at every option out there. She sent over this full report, and like there's with proxies, there's mobile proxies and residential proxies, and there's VPNs, and some of them are static VPNs, others are rotating, and it's a whole thing that I don't have a deep understanding on. So we just had
That's
someone on
totally
our
fine.
team like go find the best option out there. I think it's called OxyLabs is what we use,
Yeah.
oxylabs.com for
Well,
like a,
I think that's great
a
because so many people have like their VAs from the Philippines and they have no idea that because that person's posting their content that it might be affecting the larger audience of who's seeing it or not.
Yeah, yeah. And that's for the reach component, right? So your
Yeah.
audience who follows you, at least a portion of them who engage
Yeah.
with you more is going to be served that content. But the like if you go on Instagram and you go to the insights of any of your reels, it's going to show total reach and then non-follower to follower.
Yeah.
And reels are so great. And this is short form content across the board because they are served to so many people who don't follow you every single time, almost, unless you're like shadow banned,
Yeah.
which usually, by the way, it's so many business owners like, I think I'm shadow banned, and
They're
they're not
not shadow
shadow
banned.
banned. Your content just sucks. Like you just got to
I
get
know.
better. It's very rare to see someone actually shadow banned,
I know.
but
It's always
it'll,
the person who has shitty content who says that.
right,
And then you're like,
right.
you go back and you scroll their feed. You're like, okay, it's just feedback. It's called feedback, people. It's not shadow
Yeah.
banning.
Yeah. The easy way to get her, I'm always like, all right, let's go to your insights real fast. Let's pull up. If you have even a portion of more than 5% non-follower reach, you're not shadow banned. Same thing on TikTok, it'll show like for you page percentage. If you have even a few percentage points, you're not shadow banned. And so it's like there you go.
There you
Uh,
go. It's done.
yeah.
Okay, so then we learned about that and we know what to do there. So we've learned a ton of things. I mean, I think I could just keep asking you questions, Logan. You're clearly a wealth of information, and it's awesome to hear from somebody who's built a really big business around how to help people tactically, tangibly, creatively, and with a data driven mindset be able to build their brands up. So um okay, we're gonna do quick back and forths. Okay, I thought I was
All
doing
right. Yeah.
rapid
I'll
fire,
keep
but
it
I
quick.
wasn't.
Yeah.
Okay, okay. So, are the Harmosis the king and queen of content? Yes or no?
In business, yes.
Okay, cool. When you are a business owner who's using your personal brand, to make sales, is it okay that you talk about other areas and go broader, or is it better if 80% or is yeah? Is it okay if you go broader, talking about personal things? Um, yes or no?
80/20 rule.
80/20
80%
rule.
talk about like your business results, 20% throw in those relatable elements like your family and travel, whatever.
Cool. Okay. All right. When you are posting and you're doing the things, and let's say you don't have a creative director yet, is it okay to just respond to comments like twice a day? Or is that considered posting and ghosting?
Yes, do what you can.
Okay.
Responding to some is better than none.
Got it. Okay. Does it harm reach if you use schedulers to schedule and post your content when they're like approved by the platform, or should you still be organically opening up your app and posting?
If I just say yes without giving context, people want to flash back on this. So I want to give context on this point. Depends on the platform. And also, every scheduling tool out there is missing features. I don't care which one it
Oh,
is. Like we looked
yeah.
at all, and you want to be using the platform's features to its fullest, especially new features. So when you are solely reliant on using a scheduling tool, you're missing out on features. Anytime new features roll out, there's usually a long lag, it can be 3 to 6 months before that's available on one of these scheduling tools. And that's a huge amount of reach and boost that you missed out on just because you were using a third party scheduler rather than the native platform. So I would say when you have someone who can post for you, they should be using the native platforms. If you're not there yet, or you just need to systemize things more, again, it's better to get something out than nothing. So you should use a scheduler if you just don't have the time or the team to be able to natively post yourself yet.
Okay. We talked about that. Beautiful. We talked about the valuable nature of content. Is it better to post a higher quantity of content and then dial up it being quality? Or is it better to space out your post quantity wise and focus on getting quality? So let's say someone's going to aim for a 3 times a week type of post, but they're going to dial in, do the research, be methodical, get it filmed professionally, work on their captions and their edits and their hashtags and whatever else they want to put there. Or should they focus on posting 2, 3 times a day and just see what hits and then go back and dial in the quality?
Can I go
It
into
depends.
the detail on this
Yeah.
one? So like, let's say I had a call
the
with,
longest the longest rapid fire session ever coexists between two brand people. I'm like, this is gonna be really quick. You're like, no, it's not.
I wish I could just say yes
This
or
is my
no, but
fault.
there's, I don't,
This
I
is
don't
my
want to say
fault. This is
yes.
my
And then the
fault.
people, um, so an example is I had a call with someone yesterday. They have a brand that's been around since the 1960s, and it's like, it's a global brand worldwide, but they already have a community there, and doing a push to a new platform, it's important for them to really be dialed and really have great quality because they have such a strong brand recognition already in the marketplace. However, when you're a newer brand or you have no brand at all and you're like just getting started, the quality element, you don't need to be as much of a perfectionist, right? And I will say, I get the question a lot: quality or quantity? Quality comes first. Like, if you can't polish a turd, so if you do a lot of content, you're posting thousands of times, but it's not good content, it's not going to perform. So you do need the quality element before the volume comes into play, and then when you combine both, things like really explode. However, when you're just getting started, you largely don't know what quality is, and so instead of, I do like the idea of like, do your best, like put out content that's not going to completely suck and doesn't look horrible, but also like be willing to test and experiment a lot and fall on your face. Like, this is a new thing for you. You don't have experience with it. You're not going to know what is the best quality content right when you get started. You just have to go out there and fail fast, and like experiment a lot, look at the data and improve from there. And then your quality will get better much faster when you follow that process versus trying to have like the best edit that you've ever done day one on the first post.
Yep, agreed. I love it. Well, that has been amazing. Again, I could just keep going. So this has been so awesome to have you on the show. Logan, where is the best place people can find you?
Yeah, I'm on socials, Logan Forsyth. I will say I haven't been practicing what I preach a lot because we've been so like on the client side, but that's changing. That's changing. We're having final conversations with amazing creative directors, and I'm opening up my schedule. Going to start doing a lot more content, a lot of different ways. So that's
Bro,
exciting.
I love it.
But
I love it. You
also,
can be vulnerable here.
yeah, also our company, mediascaling.com. If you are we work with people who do have a content team, like more experience around it overall on the creator side, and then also brands, big brands, enterprise brands. So if that sounds like you, love to talk. We can help you scale as well.
Amazing. Thanks for being on the show, Logan.
Oh
Woo!
yeah, thanks for having me.